Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Great Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Praise be to Goddess. Well, here it is another Wednesday, and I hope that you all had a very happy Festival of the Mother, and I hope you enjoyed Day of Her Grace and Heavenly Mother's Day. But now the Festival of the Mother is officially over, and it's time to move on to other subjects. And today we have for you the subject, Goddess lives in us, and women are the most perfect manifestations of the divine feminine. So, Goddess lives in us. What does this mean? And how does she live in us? And how are women the most perfect manifestations of the divine feminine? Well, men are the most perfect manifestations of the divine masculine. Men are the manifestations of the divine masculine, but women are manifestations of the divine feminine. And women are very important in our lives. Women do a lot of good things and are very important. So, how does Goddess live in us? Does she live in men too? The answer is yes, she lives in men too. But women are the most perfect manifestations of the divine feminine, whereas men are manifestations of the divine masculine. And we have a link with Goddess when we're women. We women have a special link with Goddess. We have a special tie with Goddess. And we are manifestations of the divine feminine, but we don't always represent what Goddess wants or what Goddess believes when we exercise our free will. When we exercise our free will, sometimes we don't always live up to Goddess's expectations of us, and we don't always live up to our status as manifestations of the divine feminine. But despite that fact, we are in fact manifestations of the divine feminine. And so we women are manifestations of Goddess. We are manifestations of the divine feminine. And Goddess lives in us. She lives in us. How does she live in us? What does she do? Well, she gives us the power to power our activities. So she is the source. She is the source of our energy. She is the source of our being. And we exercise our free will, but we always act in accordance with what Goddess wants and with what Goddess needs, because we are manifestations of her. We don't always do what she wants us to do. We don't always agree with her will, with our free will choice. But we always are manifestations of her, and her energy lives in us. So she gives us the energy to power our everyday activities. Everything we do every day that requires energy, it is done with Goddess's consent, really, because she gave us the energy. She gave us the power to power our activities. And so all energy has its source in Goddess. So all energy, everything what we do, everything that we say began with Goddess. And so she would like us to act in accordance with her will. Now, there's lots of decisions we make every day that have nothing to do with Goddess's will. They're neutral. They're neutral activities that have nothing to do with Goddess, such as eating lunch. Now, eating lunch can be a big decision if we eat animal foods, but basically, eating lunch is an activity that doesn't involve goddess too much. Other activities may involve goddess more. So we must keep in mind what goddess wills for us. And she obviously willed us to eat meat because we can't live without meat unless we are taking supplements, taking artificial supplements that were made by mankind. If we take supplements, we can live without meat. But without supplements, we can't live without meat. So Goddess's will was that we should eat meat, but not necessarily torture animals. She doesn't want us to torture animals. So she wants us to eat meat that has been humanely raised and humanely caught. That's what she wants. That's her will. So she doesn't want us abusing animals. And what's another example of Goddess's will? Where she lives in us? Well, she likes for women to manifest the divine feminine in themselves. So when women act kindly, when they're kind, when they're gentle, when they're generous, that's when we're most manifesting Goddess's will in us. That's when we're most manifesting the divine feminine. And there's many different ways that we can manifest the divine feminine. That's just one example. Being kind, being generous, being gentle is ways that we manifest the divine feminine in ourselves. Now, men manifest the divine masculine, and the divine masculine is different, but men should still be gentle. They should be gentle men. Gentle men. And that's what men are meant to be, but aren't always that way. So it's because of free will that people do not act according to Goddess's way of being. So we need to learn what Goddess wants for us and act to the best of our ability according to Goddess's will. Now, it can be hard to understand. It can sometimes be complicated or difficult to know what the best thing to do is in any given situation. But if we follow our consciences to the best of our ability and follow what our brains tell us to do, that's the best thing, is to follow our consciences. Goddess gave everyone a conscience, so we do, while it may be difficult to understand what to do in certain situations because it's a moral gray area, Goddess gave us good enough sense to know right from wrong and to know what to do in any given situation. So Goddess has provided for us, her children, a free will and conscience, good sense. So we can follow our good sense or we can ignore our good sense, but it's always there in case we need it. And Goddess approves of us exercising our free will. She doesn't like it when we do bad things, but she approves of us having free will. What she said to me, when she spoke to me, Goddess said, "Do whatever you will, my divine child." So she wants us to do right, but to exercise our free will in all cases. And she hopes that our will jibe with what she believes is right. And so we try to exercise our free will in a way that's right and and recognizes right from wrong, but we don't always. So we have to learn right from wrong and figure out what's right and what's wrong to do, and always act in accordance with Goddess's will. I'm Sarah Jane Alpha Wolf signing off. Have a terrific week. And the Baby Moon Festival is just around the corner, so that's the next holiday is Baby Moon.